So Team Adesanya came out and they said Izzy will go hunting for Polish power once again. Just meaning someday in the future. I thought it was a great line. I liked it, but it did make me wonder. Okay. We're not going to see that right away. We're not going to talk about seeing that right away. And even if both fighters said, let's see it right away, it's just one of these things that isn't going to happen. The fight just didn't, the ebb and flow of the fight just doesn't warrant that. You guys understand that. But I want to speak to you about a little bit something different, which is what would happen if Adesanya would have screamed robbery that night in the ring, by example, said, I won rounds 1, 2, and 3. This is ridiculous. We got 10-8. We got bad ref, we got bad judges. We got to do it again. Just think of it from that perspective. What would have happened? And there are similar type situations that have been done instantly. Use Conor McGregor. When Conor lost to Nate, Conor said, no, stop everything. We're doing this again. Oh, and by the way, Conor brought a very different fight, which is what he promised on the spot. Do it again. It will be different. Here's what I did wrong. I knew it was wrong at the time. I know how to fix it. I won't do it again. But it was a compelling story and it worked. I was in a match myself. I had a match with Anderson Silva, part 2. And Anderson, I was down, and Anderson threw a knee. He's standing over me. He throws a knee, and it hits me in the face. Now, to knee somebody who's down is very illegal. That would be, oh, well, I suppose we just saw it. The Jan Sterling, right? Be very illegal. A situation you guys understand. But to finish the thought, Anderson was attempting to knee me in the chest. Oh, and by the way, he did. The knee, you got your knee all the way up to your thigh and your hip, and it hit my chest, it hit my face, my all the way up to my forehead, right? He clobbered me very good. When the fight was over, there was some controversy on that. And because I'm in the ring, I don't understand that the announce team is talking about, oh my gosh, was that an illegal knee? Was that all these different things? And so when the microphone came to me and they interviewed me after the fight, I was a sportsman about it. He won fair and square. That was my opinion then. That's my opinion now. But it's also what I said. Now, just because I wanted to be a sportsman, and I'm well aware that Anderson's strike was legal, even if the camera saw it from a different angle, I know what happened. I know he hit me legal. I don't have to say that. I could have added to the storyline that was already being told. I ended up getting a call after the fight. And I don't realize that at the time. I'm just a regular guy. I'm in the moment. I get a call after the fight from a guy named Bruce Hanna. Now, Bruce Hanna is the most powerful politician in the state of Oregon. And he calls me up. He says, it's Bruce. I didn't know who it was. And Bruce had watched this with a group of friends. Also powerful men within our state. And they thought there should be a rematch. They thought I should get a rematch because of the knee and because of the way that fight went, until I was interviewed and I didn't touch on it. And Bruce said this to me. He goes, yeah, but then when you didn't say anything, we quit thinking that way. But I remember where I was, and I remember when he told me this, because this was a lesson. It was a lesson that I had not understood at that point. It's very clear to me now, but at that point in my life, I did not understand it. And Bruce is saying, we, the audience, we there, as supporters who wanted to see this fight, we're all fired up and red hot to see it again. We just needed you, who was leading this charge, to say it. But you didn't, so we quit thinking it. But that's a real thing. There's a lesson in that. That's why we say that the moment one fight ends, the marketing for the next fight begins. And you don't get that moment twice. I could not have come out 2 days later and said, I should get a rematch because he need me. You can't do it. Right in the heat, right in the moment, right then, what happens? Very relevant. It's a very relevant how you're going to handle that. And Adesanya chose to handle it as a sportsman. Tip his hat. Congratulations, John. I'm still the champ at 185. I got business at 185. Looks like my next fight will be at 185. No problem. No harm, no foul. But it is one of those things when Team Adesanya comes out today and says, eventually down the road, we will go hunting for Polish power again. It does make you wonder, well, what could have been done right in the moment? The old expression, don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see. It's very real, even in sport. The moment somebody grabs the mic, even though you just spent 25 minutes watching something that just happened, you don't need research. You don't need witnesses' opinion. You don't need to rewind the tape. You just saw it. He can convince you saw something else. We've seen it time and time again. I was in the arena the night that Nick Diaz lost every round and every minute and every exchange with Anderson Silva. Nick Diaz took the microphone afterwards. Joe Rogan asked him what he thought of the fight. Nick Diaz said, I thought I won every single round. No idea how they came to this conclusion. The crowd stopped what they were doing and stood on their feet and gave him a standing ovation. I could count on a couple of fingers how many times I've ever been and seen a standing ovation go to the loser of a fight. They gave Nick a standing ovation. And Nick, by the way, wasn't attempting to do a swerve job. Nick has always believed you can win a fight from your back. He just always has. He's always been confused. He never understands how the judges don't see it. It's one of these things, but it was one of these real moments. And Nick rewrote the narrative right there in the ring before he left. Got a standing ovation, remained in high demand. Before he ever left, he could have done it another way. He could have tipped his hat to Anderson and said, man, I shouldn't have been in this weight class. He was too much for me. I'm glad that's over. He would never get that moment back. It's a very interesting thing of how are you going to handle that? Are you going to handle that like Conor McGregor, who always seems to handle it right, evidence being he always seems to get what he wants? Or you can handle it like I did and go, well, facts matter. That knee hit me in the chest. Might have scrolled, it's a long leg, might have scrolled up to my face, but he hit me in the chest. That was legal. Are you going to do what Izzy did and go, what's the difference anyway? I was champion of the world when I woke up today. I'm champion of the world when I wake up tomorrow. Few different answers. None of them were wrong, but they are going to have meaning. How you were going to handle that is going to matter, and you're not going to get that second chance twice. It's fun to watch. It was fun to think, what if? And I'm not convinced that had he wanted to, Israel Adesanya could not have left us with a very different impression. He would have taken the low road. The low road would be to try to take away from what another guy just did to you when you shook hands and agreed, here's how we're going to do it, and here's how we're going to decide it. It would have been the low road. But he would have had a level of success with it, and we would be having a different conversation. Just for fun. It's just for fun. But if you were to envision what would have happened if Adesanya would have screamed foul ball, I won those 3, and then used as evidence that 2 judges had 10-8 rounds, which is evidence that they don't know what they're doing. Would have been interesting. Would have been different. Would have been a different dialogue. I don't know how to end this video. I'm done with the thought. I think I'm just going to stop talking.